I went into that bakery and there's always a line, but actually moved pretty quickly. They just like got you in and out of there so fast. And what I always was eyeballing was their like ginormous croissants and like viennoiseries and stuff. And I want to make Max inspired by those pink praline, the like praline rose. So I got one of those. It sounds really delicious, but probably like all my calories for the day. Like holy shit, it's like crème pâtissière and like all kinds of things inside in addition to the praline rose. And also I got a baguette and it was still warm, which gave it to me, so I'm very excited to go home and eat that for lunch. Let's continue on. Okay, you guys, I found this bread that is a praline rose. So it's like an almond butter basically, but it has the praline or the almonds that are like covered in the pink sugar. So it's like a little bit sweeter than a normal almond butter. It's kind of like, I cannot even think of what would be similar to this in America. Trust me, it's delicious. It looks like a little bit on the like runnier side. So if you're thinking about more of like a homemade almond butter kind of feel, and then that really beautiful pink color. So I think I'm gonna mix this into buttercream and then put this maybe also directly in the center just to like really intensify that flavor. I could also put this into a ganache, but I'm worried that if I put it into a white chocolate ganache, it's gonna get too sweet because that praline rose is already like really sugary. So I don't necessarily want to do that. And I think if I do a Swiss meringue buttercream and swap out some of the sugar for honey, I can try to tone down the sweetness already and go for this being my kind of flavor and sweetener for a lot of it. So I think I'm gonna do that. Also, let me just show you this viennoiserie that is chock full of praline rose, the rose pralines, or the pink almonds. It's amazing and it's also huge. So let me show you. I am just going to be making a regular pink shell for these praline rose macarons, and I'm using my French method, just like normal, regular piping tip, almond flour, powdered sugar mixed together. I'm using the coral color from Master Elite Sugar Art. And then the one thing that I did, I have some gold colored sugar here. I really wanted to use pearl sugar and I couldn't find any in any local stores, and I didn't want to search much longer for it. So anyway, if you do give this recipe a try, I would highly recommend using pearl sugar, because anything that has the praline rose or the like rose pralines here in France seems to go along with those pearl sugars. So anyway, that is my one recommendation that I would change if I could make this again. Otherwise, I'm just jumping in with my French meringue, having room temperature egg whites, mixing in my sugar once I reach that white and frothy stage. After all my sugar is into the meringue, I'm just dumping in a little bit of food coloring. I used powdered here, but you can certainly use gel food coloring as well. The only thing you would want to avoid is anything that is watery or very liquid. That could lead to very bad results later on in the process. Continue whipping that meringue until you reach a really stiff and glossy peak. After you have that stiff peak, you can start dumping in the dry ingredients. I like to add mine in about 3 additions, though that is kind of part what I've learned and part personal preference. So if you like to go a little bit more slowly or more quickly, or if you like to use your mixer to start working the dry ingredients in, there are lots of options for you here. So I recommend that whatever you do, maybe do some trial and error and see what works best for you. You just want to look for those ingredients being incorporated without leaving any streaks behind, and also you don't want to completely deflate your macaron batter right here, because after all the ingredients are together, you'll want to work on that macaronage, or scraping the batter against the sides of your bowl, pulling your spatula through, and really just consciously and on purpose deflating your batter to get to that ribbon stage. So you don't want to work too much on the batter before everything is incorporated, or you might have a little bit wonky results later on. After you get to that ribbon stage, you can just transfer the batter to a piping bag fitted with a piping tip. I generally like to use really large piping bags, anything from 18 to 24 inches, and I usually use anywhere between an 803 and an 806 for my piping tips. So again, whatever works best for you in your kitchen, I think is the best way to go. However you get your batter piped onto your mat, I usually use a Silpat here or a silicone baking mat. Tap your trays after, just to release any large air bubbles or pockets and to smooth out the tops of your shells before they rest and form that skin at room temperature. Depending on where you are and the weather and all kinds of different factors, it may take only 15 minutes, it may take 40 or 45 minutes. For a skin to form. You will know that it has once you can touch the tops of your macarons without pulling any batter away. Before it gets to that stage, while the tops are still wet and sticky, you can sprinkle on any decorations. For me, that was the golden sugar. Again, I wish I had had some pearl sugar here. I did not. I still regret that. But you want to make sure to sprinkle anything you are going to sprinkle before it firms up and forms that skin, or everything will just fall off after it bakes. After baking and cooling and matching, I just have some of that Praline Rose paste there. So if you are making this at home and you don't have access to that, this is basically a very sweet almond butter kind of situation. You could make your own praline. You could order something like this online. Otherwise, probably the most simple version of this for US folks is to make an almond butter honey, maybe macaron. I am just piping that Swiss meringue buttercream mixed with the Praline Rose paste, and then I also put some of that paste on the inside. You could either pipe it like this as I did in bulbs, or you could pipe rings. The reason I did this is because I really wanted that flavor to come through, and also the paste was quite loose and liquid, so I didn't want it spilling out anywhere. I just matched those up, sandwiched them, got them in the refrigerator or freezer for 24 hours before biting into them. That is super, super important so that they can mature properly. Otherwise, you'll have really crunchy shells. I hope you enjoyed this little adventure in my French kitchen here. If you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so. I would love to see you here again next time. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.